G'day, Marnie. Welcome to the Hidden Why podcast. Great to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation, actually, because you've got interesting books that you've released. You've got interesting work. You're all about positive psychology, which I love. So I'm sure we can delve into some deep discussions here.
Yeah, we'll get real deep, won't we? Can't
I hope
help myself.
so. No, you're very passionate about it. So tell us just a little bit about your background so we can get some context there, and then we'll get into the conversation about your books and your work.
Well, I'm a psychologist, so I spent many years working in private practice. But what I found when I was working in private practice is that there's so many people outside of who I work with who probably would never go and see a psychologist. So that kind
Hmm.
of pivoted me a little bit to go out and do workplace wellbeing, do presentations and write books because I felt there's so many people in society that need the information that happens and the discussions that happen in kind of a therapy room,
Yeah,
but for society. So I do a range of things now. Very diverse, very cool job that I have.
very cool. It's good to have meaningful work that you enjoy. All
Yes, for
right.
sure.
Did you get to a point yourself? Because you got two books, Burnout to Brilliant, and then your latest book launched last year, I think, Crisis to Contentment.
Yes.
Um, and I guess the message that I got from it was that we all deal with some level of crisis in our lives or burnout, some period of our lives where it just seems overwhelming and you just want to give up and
Yes.
stop the pursuit for what I think is important to everyone. That's a high level of freedom, fulfillment, and happiness.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And that's what I found when I was working with people one on one, is just adults and them having a lot on their plate. And
Mm,
through life journey, lots of things happen to us, don't they? It's
yeah,
inevitable that there's going to be stress in our life, and sometimes the stress happens sporadically, sometimes it happens all in 1 month.
yeah,
And sometimes people don't have those kind of psychological tools to be able to navigate it because we certainly don't get taught it at school.
no,
We get taught the inside of a plant cell, but we don't know how to manage our anxiety or the feelings of uncertainty or how to juggle. We don't have those capabilities a lot of the time.
mm,
So that's why I was thinking, like people need this stuff. Yeah, and I think psychologists generally have a finger on the pulse of what's going on in society. And I think we're in a good position to hear all the stories and vulnerabilities and talk about it.
yeah. Definitely, there's more conversations happening around it, and I think a lot more people see a psychologist in their
Yes.
lives these days. It seems more common. Um, Maybe not such a stigma attached, and particularly for men as well. You know, going out there to see someone to talk about how they're feeling. Um, is there too much of that? Do you think we have gone totally the other way, and now we're just delving, making it more of a issue than it actually is?
Um, I don't know what the Goldilocks position is there
No.
because I think, yeah, people like myself and probably you as well, we want people to talk about it. We want people to notice how they feel and really dig a little bit deeper as to why they're feeling like that, because then you're in a powerful position, aren't you, to get help. But
Mm,
then I think what I see as well is that maybe some people are pathologizing some things out there and talking about it a little bit too much, particularly in social media, where they're emphasizing things that they probably just need to navigate, and it's part of life and it's part of human being, but they're making it more of an illness or a pathology when they don't
yeah,
need to. So I think
yeah,
that's happening as well, but I really don't have the answer to that. I think
yeah.
we need
It's a
more
hard one.
the tricky one, isn't it?
Well, I think you're right. Like more conversations like this, whether it's one-on-one with a psychologist or one to many, and just talking about these issues is
Yeah.
certainly very helpful. A podcast that I actually just got into was the Imperfects, an Australian podcast,
Yeah.
and they talk a lot about vulnerability and people's stories. And again, it's a different theme podcast, but I just really loved it because it was just that open conversation, which I think is really important.
Exactly, exactly. And it's allowing that discussion to go on a deeper level than you normally would if you were just having a quick chat about it. So
Mm.
you can see, can't you, or not see, you can hear the complexities of human beings, can't you?
Yeah,
Sit and hear those stories.
yeah, absolutely. It looks all so very different. And so, we go out there with self-help and look for the answers online, but because of our own complexities, it's so hard to use those tools. from one to many, like you have to really find your own solutions, but that comes through talking about it with someone and
Yeah.
and a deeper level of self-awareness.
Exactly. And the power of talking is that sometimes in the talking and being actively listened to in that process, you end up figuring out things for yourself a lot of the time,
Hmm.
rather, yeah, just Googling something and getting advice, this one size fits all advice.
Yeah.
Through talking about it and figuring it out and then having the right person to talk to, sometimes we come up with our own solutions, don't we?
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
at times might be dismissed or we would never have got to if we didn't have the right person to speak to.
Yeah. And that's why I've got coaches that I work with. And I just had a session this morning, and just the being able to be vulnerable with her and talk about issues, and then her come back to me and provide some different insights. It really makes you think, and that's what you always walk away from. And go, okay, yeah, maybe I just need to think about it a bit differently. I already had the answers there, but it just needed some prompting from someone else.
Exactly, exactly. And as well-meaning as our friends are and people around us, sometimes they want the best from us and they don't challenge us and things like that. Sometimes we need that, don't we?
Yes, and I think it's great to have a third party where you can talk to so
Mm.
openly
Oh, for sure.
and
Yeah.
being open about it. How do you um how do you engage with people and encourage people to be more open? Like that must be a very big challenge in your field of work.
Yeah, 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 it is. But I think sometimes when people are coming, there's already the intent there. They're already at that stage of readiness to do something
Mm,
feeling. So I think there's already a level of openness when you kind of say, "Hey, I need to talk to someone. I need some help here. I need some support. I'm stuck." You're
yeah.
already asking, aren't you? So you're at that readiness to change. But then I think that therapeutic relationship is so important because before someone is really vulnerable with you, they need to know you a bit. They need to like you, of course.
Yeah. A little bit of trust there.
Yeah, and the trust needs to be there, and not everyone's going to open up straight away. It's a process that goes, over time when they feel comfortable and feel
Mm,
safe.
100%. Did you get to a point in your career where you felt burnout or crisis, and this is what sort of prompted you to start sort of sharing the message a bit deeper and wider?
So you're analyzing me already.
I don't know, eh?
Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that what what makes a good writer is you're writing a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
absolutely. And I reflect on that because I wrote a book called The Ultimate Life Map, and really that is kind of my journey, right? And this podcast is my journey. The reason why I do it is because it benefits me deeply.
yeah, exactly. And writing helps you think, doesn't it? So I
Mm.
found both of my books, The Burnout to Brilliant and Crisis to Contentment, extremely therapeutic for me because obviously it just came out of my head.
Yeah, nice.
And sitting there and I didn't even realize it was all in my head. So it's not until you actually write with that
Mm.
creativity starts flowing out, you think, God, my head is crammed full of all this stuff.
Yeah.
But certainly both of them, yes, to your question, is I have got to the point, the burnout, near burnout point. And I certainly write about it in Burnout to Brilliant, where I even start the book saying, oh my gosh, like lately I've needed to be around water. I've had this almost calling just to be at the beach and just to stop and to be immersed in water and to be swimming in water or I just need it. And I feel that quite regularly. I have a very busy life, as many people do. But the load was massive. And that particular, just before I wrote the book, there was this calling for me just to stop. And I feel like I nearly got to the brink of it, but I was able, and probably because I'm a psychologist, I was able to pull myself back with the right psychological tools because I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, cool.
able to kind of pull them back. And I think because I listen to people all the time and I work with people all the time who feel similar or they get to breaking point or even crisis point where they're going through something really tricky. I hear it all the time. So I thought this would resonate with other people. If I'm feeling like this, other people are feeling like it.
100%. There's a lot of people feeling like it, right?
Particularly at the moment, still with a pandemic hangover, I think people are more burnt out than I've ever seen them.
Yeah. It's we want to jump into that. Talk to me about burnout. Like what is burnout in your definition of burnout?
My definition is probably a little bit different to the World Health Organization's definition. I don't know who you should believe. A
Yours
top,
today?
just do mine. So that they talk more about kind of the occupational, in the occupational sense that it's caused by work, but I don't feel that you can separate the
Yeah.
human personal professional. So I would just say it's that kind of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual exhaustion.
Mm.
And it's a mix of many other mental health issues. And it's just getting to that point where you're like, I'm so exhausted, I can't even think straight. I can't even do all the things that I usually do. And I certainly can't create and get excited about what I want to do next in life. Yeah.
So they're the sort of signals you'd suggest, like if someone is feeling like constantly exhausted day in, day out, they're feeling unmotivated, maybe a lacking of passion. Um, I can easily identify when I'm feeling a bit burnt out because I'm highly passionate and highly motivated. Not everyone's wired that way, of course. So I
Yeah.
don't know if I can relate it to everyone else, but are there any other symptoms you'd say that, hey, this might be a sign that you're maybe
Yeah.
nearing burnout or burnt out?
Yeah, I think on top of the kind of signals that you've already said with the like extreme fatigue, lack of energy, lack of motivation, the disconnection from people around you. So even as I'm talking, you probably can say that's other mental health issues, isn't it? As
Yeah.
well, pleasure in activities. But I would also say you just can't even think. So there's that brain fog. But I think on top of it as well is that cynicism for life. It's almost like there's this negativity that creeps up on you as well, is that those things, like it might be work or a relationship you're in, you're just like, I'm just not feeling it anymore.
Mm.
Yeah, so I think that's added on top of that.
Yeah.
Even recently after I wrote Crisis to Contentment, I was feeling like I was heading for burnout again because when you're a writer, you're doing your normal job plus writing a book on top of it. So I was a little bit tired.
Yeah.
And oh my God, am I going to get burnt out now? Am I going to have to read my burnout book, my first book, to from the second book? And then I thought, no, it's not burnout because I was still excited about work. I was still creating things in my mind, but I was body tired. So it was that's not burnout. That's
Yeah.
different. So I
Okay.
was excited. I wasn't cynical. I wasn't disconnecting. I was just like, I'm bloody tired.
You just need a little break or a holiday.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and sometimes that level of excitement, because you do all that work to write the book and then you launch it and it's just so exciting to do it. But then you're sort of left with, oh, what now?
Yeah.
Right? And I think that what now is a bit of a problem with me anyway, um, because it feels like it's never enough.
Yeah.
And I think a feeling of never enough can often lead to burnout as well.
Well, exactly, exactly. It's a bit of a high achiever thing as well, where we don't stop to celebrate some of the wins. We just go straight into the next thing.
Yeah, that's right. And that's, what we need to organize is say, okay, when we get there, let's just have a little, 3-day break. And I'm getting better at that myself now,
Mm.
because that's what people have recommended. Set yourself up and give yourself a few days every month to just break.
Yeah,
Have a holiday every quarter or whatever you can do.
exactly, exactly. And I'm similar in that I have to really consciously think about it, because if I don't consciously think about what I need to be my best self and operate well and ritualize them into my schedule, I will just race through life and just keep being busy, busy, busy and just filling it.
Yeah.
And I always been like that, and I have to be careful. So I know a lot of people I work with who are high achieving professionals, because it seems to be who I attract to my work,
Hmm.
end up getting burnt out. Is they're similar. They've always been doing this since they were probably in high school, and they've just been go, 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 and they don't stop and think, I might need to do this a bit differently, because I'm going downhill and I don't even know it.
Yeah. So really, burnout is a combination of mental fatigue, but also body tiredness and exhaustion. It's
Yeah,
it's not just an isolated mental fatigue, but you're still energetic, or
yeah,
vice
yeah.
versa.
It's the whole
It's the whole
lot.
package.
Yeah.
And that makes sense when you say, they talk about it in the occupational sense in the workplace. You're burnt out because you're working too much. But look at life now. I mean, most of our life is spent working.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
when we're not working, it feels like we're working because we're raising children or cleaning the house or
Well, exactly.
looking after friends and family.
That's the thing, isn't it? And adults now, like it's a very different world, the world that we live in. It's not like, 50 years and beyond ago. Like we're the sandwich generation as well. So a lot of us are, and we have to work a lot. So, all genders are working probably full time because the cost of living is so
Yeah,
high. We might have kids, so we've got to pay for all, what goes on and caretake, and then we might have elderly parents that we're looking after.
yeah.
Um, there's a lot going on for all of us, and I think many of us are really susceptible to burnout and getting to crisis point where we kind of go, who even am I? I'm not myself anymore. I've lost myself in the process.
Yeah, and I think society as a whole has shifted that way quite dramatically. Um, and I don't know if we can change it from here, but I think by talking about it, number one, is important. Um, and then a bit more awareness around what's important in life might help to instigate that change. But I see it, and I'd like to talk about this. What is causing societal burnout at the moment? Because it's not just an individual issue; it's a societal thing. I think where we're just more and more busy, busier, busy, overwhelmed. And I look at drama, the media, everything that's going on in the economy. That drains one's energy, right? And we don't have time to deal with our own issues because we're dealing with all these other things that are surrounding us, the distractions of social media and what's happening there. What else do you see taking place that's really causing this overwhelm in people's lives?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like we were saying before, adults, I think in modern times, we don't have the village either, do we? Like we
No.
don't. So we've got a lot on our plate. So I think that's implied, like there's a lot going on. But I think because everything's so fast paced now, instead of having like or incorporating healthy kind of coping mechanisms into it, to have that downtime, to have that presence, to look after ourselves, we're reaching for unhelpful coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
So home and we're sitting in front of the TV, we're scrolling around on our phones constantly, and we know that we're more likely to doom scroll than we are to purposely look for the good stuff. So we're absorbing, I think, on top of our own kind of adversities that we're going through and the busyness of life, we're absorbing the world's adversities in real time and we're watching it happen. And of course, human beings, we have that negativity bias, don't we? So we're
Mm.
tuned in to the
Latching
crisis.
onto it. Yeah.
So what are we doing in life to balance that out? Yeah, we
Yeah.
might go or do something, but that's not going to counteract, 10 hours of work and 5 hours on your phone scrolling around looking at stupid stuff, is it?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
so where's the balance with,
Yeah.
we're not ritualizing enough that is going to be the antidote to stress.
Hmm. 100%. I found myself when I look around me, and I'm fairly controlled and disciplined generally, but
Mm.
the attention deficit of the population is huge,
Yeah.
and there's massive people that work behind making sure they steal our attention. And like you said, like where do we find the time to actually just spend in silence or to spend in our own thoughts, other than maybe going for a swim or whatever it might be for you?
Mm.
Every other bit of your day is filled with activity.
Filled with stuff. We can't even wait for someone, can we? Like we're waiting for a meeting or waiting for a coffee, and we don't sit and look at the tree or the sky or the birds. We look at our phones until the person comes. So
Yeah.
there's the
Or those
space.
longer activities where, you might play a board game or might watch a movie. More and more people I talk to, it's like, I can't even watch a movie anymore.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelmed too because there's so many to choose from. And that makes it harder. But to sit
Yeah.
there and, be absorbed with something for 2 hours is very hard. Easier to get on TikTok and be absorbed for 30 seconds for 3 hours.
Exactly, and get the continuous dopamine hit. I actually was talking to a client yesterday, and I gave him the task of being mindful in his evening. So even if he does watch the TV, I said, don't look at your phone. Just be mindful watching the TV. Because he was saying that he watches TV, he's having dinner, but he's on his phone. So he's like this.
Oh, okay. All right. We all
Yeah,
do it.
multitasking and then like really exhausting himself. So it's like, no, have dinner, have a conversation, then stop that, then sit and watch TV for a little bit, but don't look at your phone. And I was like, do you think it can do that? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. So
Yeah,
This
it's
is
hard. Yeah.
yeah,
You self-test yourself. I mean, I've done that as well, where I sit there and go, what am I on my phone for? And, got something on the background that I'm half tuned into.
yeah.
It's ridiculous. So let's talk about solutions. Like you're talking about becoming brilliant after burnout or crisis to contentment. What are the solutions here? Like what can we, I guess the bigger wins for most people that we could act on today to make some changes?
Yeah, I think the first one is having that self-awareness, because I think, like the types of people that we're talking about, and I think a lot of it we're talking about ourselves as well, of course, is that
100%.
we're just racing through life and sometimes just driven by um, our unconscious or our subconscious rather than being conscious about things. So I think self-awareness is the big one, isn't it? Is really tapping into those feelings, and instead of just doing what we've always done, is to kind of stop and go, what's going on here? Because a feeling is an extension of an emotion. What is this emotion telling me?
Mm.
Because we're missing those signals. If you're angry all the time or you're stressed all the time, don't race through it. Figure out why you're feeling like that. Is there something going on at work? Is there something going on in your relationship? Is there something going on? Are you not doing enough of something that makes you feel good? Like really just stop for a moment. So I think it's the self-awareness, it's stopping and really figuring out, why am I feeling like this? What is going on in the context of my life?
Mm.
That. And I talk a lot about that in both books. And even the crisis is more a crises. It's like there's something here, there's something uncomfortable, I'm not at ease with my emotions. What is that about? And what can I do now? What can I consider are the issues? And then that's where you go into thinking about what you can do about it.
How do we create self-awareness? Because if we're
Mm.
so distracted and so busy and always got things to do, emails to check, TikTok to look at, whatever, how do we, how do we develop self-awareness so that we can be mindful of how we're spending our time?
Yeah, yeah. And this is why I think it's good, not good. You know how when you go through something terrible that you don't ever want to go through, like burnout,
Hmm.
um, sometimes you have to get to that point to realize how stopping is important in your life. So a lot of people who've become burnt out, then they start ritualizing moments of nothing, of connection to the present moment. So I think, how do we develop self-awareness? I think it is, getting to the end of the day and just stopping and doing a meditation or a mindful activity, or, a walk with your dog at sunset, and just stopping and going, how did today go?
Yeah,
Just an inquiry about, how have I felt today? Is there anything I need to change tomorrow? So I
yeah,
think, is making that space in your day to either reflect on it, to journal it, or just to think a little bit more and ponder about life and how you felt in it that day, so that you can change it up the next day.
yeah. Very good point. Meditation, journaling, exercise, or changing your physiology, walking, exercise, swimming, whatever it might be. Those three things in your day can have a major impact on your thoughts and your awareness.
Massively, massively. Because then if you can think about it, then you can kind of wonder what's going on, and then start consciously thinking about what you could do to change it if it's not sitting a little bit right. It might
Hmm.
mean, this is stuck here, this emotion. Oh, I'm going to talk to this, my boss today or
Yeah.
today.
But if I'm sitting there and you're saying, Leigh, maybe you should try some meditation or some journaling or something like that,
Mm.
I imagine their biggest objection is, yeah, but where do I find the time to do that? Like,
That happens a lot, is when I talk to people and I could give someone 100 different things that they could do to make them feel better. And you can see, if I kind of say, have you thought about this? Or you can see their eyes roll back to think, woman, I've just told you that I've got no time. So I kind
yeah,
of, because we've all got the same amount of time, haven't we? Like the
yeah,
same amount of time a day. So it is, I often get people to start the smallest they possibly can. So,
yeah,
I'll say what time they get up early. Could they get up, even 10 minutes earlier? So come to them where they are, I think is
mm,
important. It might be you just actually have a lunch break and walk down the park near the office. Take those things. So I try and figure out through conversation where they actually are and see if they can come up with finding 5 minutes here or before they pick the kids up, pick the kids up 10 minutes earlier and put the earpods in and listen to a meditation. So, or does it have to be just before bed? So through conversation, I figure out where people are and they come up with where they can actually slot this time in.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think a good starting point is to look at your schedule and go, okay, well, what's in my schedule? What's really important in there? Because if you look at anyone's schedule, we all have the same time. Like you said, there's things in our day that we're filling our time with that are just exhausting and draining and not actually beneficial. So it's kind of going, okay, well, maybe I could do something different at that time. Instead of jumping on my phone as soon as I get out of bed, which a lot of people do these days, put my phone away. Like I'll try and plug it in outside nowadays, and I'll get up and do my meditation, my exercise, and do all those things. And I won't even look at my phone generally until I'm in the office. And that's a really good way to give myself that self-care and time and not to be distracted by everything else that's trying to steal my attention.
Definitely. And if you don't do that, if you don't think about it, if you're not conscious about it, you'll just do what you did yesterday because you're reactive to how you feel and you just do what you've always done. So the conversation is so important. What am I going to do differently tomorrow? So you're being proactive rather than reactive. And I say to people as well, you have to slot these things in as though they are as important as a boardroom meeting or a doctor's appointment. You have to in to your diary, like let's get the Google Calendar out and plug it in where you can do it. Otherwise, if you don't, you're going to have to make room later down the track for your doctor's appointments and thing, aren't you?
Yeah. So
well,
if you don't schedule it, you'll fill up the time with other things.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so much in saying that, but then actually doing it, that's the harder thing. But I think, like you said, if you start people off small,
always
you can build from there.
And then, and I try and habit stack a lot with people. So again, a lot of the people I work with are extremely busy. So, and they'll always say, I don't have the time. But the fact that they're coming to see me is that there is intent to do something about it. So you can kind of look at what they're already doing and either shorten something. And to your point, some of the things that they're doing, they are sitting, no matter how busy you are, people are still wasting time on their phones. They're still, watching TV shows at night for far too long on Netflix. So there's things that they can cut down.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's being mindful too that, hey, you don't have to necessarily, turn off Netflix entirely. You can still watch your favorite show or whatever, but maybe it's just watching 1 hour instead of 3 hours and spending some time in meditation at night or journaling or whatever it might be. And I think I love that point about scheduling those things importantly. Like we were talking at the start of this, like the holidays. For us busy people, like schedule time off where you say that's time off. And if you put it in your calendar and make it happen, then you're going to do it and you're going to force yourself to have that break.
Exactly. Yeah. But you do it, you're doing it.
Do it ahead.
Yeah, it's all plugged in ahead of time. So you've got to do that with all your other things. You might have to do that with your dog walks and or your hiking trip on the weekend or your meditation. You actually have to put it in your diary. So you're being proactive with life rather than being reactive to how you feel in the moment. Because, and that's the thing is that if you're proactive and you keep doing it, then it becomes a new habit, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll find that you feel guilty if you don't do that. I recently got a dog, probably one of the best things I did. And he's forced me to take him for walks every day.
Yeah.
And I love it. I go out for a walk. I don't plug into anything. I just walk him and me and just think about stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's become a point where I'm just like, oh, I've got to get up and take him for a walk, even though I'm feeling like a bit like, oh, I just want to stay in bed or, oh, I've got something to do. It's really a forced sign. And you're right. If you schedule it, even better. These habits will develop, and like bad habits that develop, good habits develop too. And once you start feeling the good effects from things, you'll want to do it more.
Exactly. And like you said, even if it's not in your calendar, after a few weeks of walking your dog, there's just a knowing that that's what you do.
Yeah.
You don't have to set an alarm for it. It just happens. So, and so that could be for anything. It might be socializing with friends. So there's so many antidotes to stress and exhaustion. Whether it's, like spending more time with friends, because a lot of people I work with don't do that enough anymore. Activities outside of working. So I think we're the fun police as we become adults because we're so busy and everything becomes very serious. But all those kind of playful things, I think we forget about
Mm.
that are an antidote to the harder stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I do like it. I think more of the plugging in to your schedules, the good things, the healthy good things that make you feel good, and
Mm.
removing some of those things that just aren't beneficial to your overall direction in life and goals, and
Yeah,
that will lead
exactly.
to burnout. Do you have a particular meditation that you subscribe to or enjoy?
Yeah, I'm a big, I like to go onto YouTube and I'm very particular with the voices. I think a lot of people who meditate, I'm very particular who's talking in my
Yeah,
ear. I actually like someone speaking to me while I'm meditating. So I'm a big dog walker too. So I kind of do a walking meditation with my dog. I like to be in the zone. I don't like to listen to things. So, I top and tail my day with like walks with my dog in nature. So that's very meditative for me. But in the evenings, I listen to his name's Joe T. Joe T. He's got like so many meditations on YouTube, and I just like his voice. He's got a very soothing voice.
yeah,
Um, that's my go-to.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, there's many out there, and I think we're all very particular about who's going to be talking into our ear. They have to have a lovely voice, don't they?
yeah. I was listening to a meditation app for a while, and yeah, one of the voices I didn't really like. It actually annoyed me, so I
Yeah.
didn't stay with that too long. But I think it's a good point. Like, I mean, all these things, um, it doesn't matter what you adopt, as long as you adopt it and it feels good to you and makes sense to you.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And like we were saying earlier on, even if someone went and saw a psychologist, sometimes people don't like the psychologist or they don't like their method or they're just that therapeutic fit's not there and then people just give up. So there's
Hmm.
no size fits all approach to anything, isn't it? Because we're complex creatures and we all have different personalities and interests and things. So I would say to people, if you're feeling a little bit stuck, try different things. And if you don't like it straight away, just try something different or a different version of it or, until something sticks.
Yeah, yeah. Give things a go. Trial and error.
Yeah, exactly. Because not everything's going to happen straight away.
Yeah,
Particularly when you're trying to change your routine or your schedule, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable at first because you're doing new stuff. So it's going to be weird. Your brain's going to go, no, go back to what you used to do because that's what it's always done.
yeah,
So it's hard to get up at 5 a.m. every morning if you normally get up at 8, isn't it? So
yeah.
it's for a while, but it becomes the new normal if you stick to it a little bit.
It takes years, years of development. I mean, I remember back before I started my podcast that I was that typical sort of bloke that would wake up, turn on sunrise, watch the news, cook breakfast, run off to work, come home, cook dinner, watch the news, watch TV. It was just on. Never
Yeah.
really had a morning routine, and it's taken me years and years and years, and I'm still not where I'd like to be, but I'm a lot more advanced, and I have a fairly solid routine. But that's a decade of work.
Oh, exactly, exactly. And it's ongoing too, isn't it? Because and I talk about this in the crisis to contentment, like there's something happens, I think, during middle age as well as we get older, 'cause, there's
Mm,
body changes and hormones all over the place. And I talk a lot about becoming a grumpy woman, a little bit more irritable. So, not sleeping well. So you have to keep going, don't you? And keep changing and keep morphing and keep listening to yourself so that you can adapt your routine
yeah.
through life. Yeah. So it's not just a change everything and then that's how you're going to be until you're like 120. It's an ongoing process of development.
Yeah, well, your values change, you grow older, everything changes. So you sort of develop it and change it as you go. What I struggle with when I first started, like your meditation, for example, okay, this is meditation. So I'd sit there and go, okay, I'm watching my breath or counting, whatever it might have been. And I got to a point where I'm just like, oh, what's going on? It's not even working. But I forgot to realize that, there's different styles of meditations.
Yes.
And so I kept going and I tried different things and I evolved it to now I have a different meditation than I did 2 years ago, but it's
Good.
working for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mistake we have. We look out there and they say exercise, and immediately you're watching people going to the gym and lifting weights. It might not be your bag, right? It's okay
Yeah.
to go for a walk or swim or fly a kite, whatever it might be. Do
Yes.
something that makes you happy because you're more likely to stick to it too.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So always start with that. And I think when you start with something that you want to do and that's fun for you, you're more likely to do it, aren't you?
Hmm.
But then the self-efficacy builds from, because you've got the ability to do that, and then you can do the harder stuff if you choose to after that. But so
Yeah.
always start
Get
something.
the routine going.
Yeah.
I had a question for you and it's gone.
Brain fog.
Well,
Is that?
when you're speaking with your patients, is there a common theme that comes up with them around relationships and connection with people? Because you touched on it before and you said something about, we don't socialize enough anymore. And I think that human connection is really missing.
Yes.
Do you find that like as a common theme that people just aren't connecting too much online? Is there anything there that's intriguing?
Yeah, I think people are definitely of all ages, but I certainly see in people in relationships that people are more disconnected. They're very wired, so everyone knows what's going on online, but yeah, people are sitting out in dates, staring at their phone. They're constantly checking their pinging and dinging and ringing
Yeah.
on their phones. They're sitting next to each other on the couch, but disconnected, looking at different screens. Yeah, I think people are more wired in society, but
Yeah.
but they kind of know it at the same time, but they don't have the energy to do anything about it.
What can we do about that? Because that's really, really critical, I think, and these conversations are good for me and probably you as well. Having these
Mm.
deep conversations about connection.
Yeah,
We're not, sitting there having a 30-second scroll on TikTok that has no meaning. We're talking about something that really is development.
yeah, exactly,
How do you
exactly.
encourage that?
Yeah.
What can we do to do more of
Mm.
that?
Mm. Um, it, I think I think it starts with having these conversations, because I think people almost, like we've been talking about people, adults in crisis, we've been talking about like burnout, and I think it's easier, isn't it, to sometimes sit on your phone next to your partner because you're getting the dopamine hit. Like nothing's coming of it except you're getting some sort of pleasure.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you turn to your partner and you have to have a deeper conversation, it might be quite uncomfortable, mightn't it? Like
Yes.
to sometimes, particularly if you've been a bit
Good point.
disconnected.
Mm.
So it's easier. It's almost like a procrastinating type of thing. This is giving me pleasure, but I'm going to avoid that because that could make me uncomfortable. And my load is so full, I can't do it. It's 10 o'clock at night. I've been watching the kids. I've been worried about my parent in care at the moment. I've got bills up to here. It's easier for me to sit on TikTok and see, dogs doing silly things than sit here and you're telling me that you're disconnected and you don't talk to me anymore. That's going to start something that I don't have the bandwidth to deal with.
Mm.
I think, but then at the same time they want to be more connected, but it's just too hard because it's going to bring up more feelings that they're not prepared to open,
Yeah.
not going to
Yeah.
step into. So I think a lot of people are in a relationship, but they're dancing around and no one's prepared to sit. Two people aren't prepared to sit in the thickness of the emotions that could come out to go, how do we do this better? So they don't.
Mm.
So I think it's having these conversations to go, is this happening with you? Like
Yeah.
sometimes in the uncomfortableness of the emotions, you can figure out what both of you need and what needs to happen. So it's that awareness, isn't it?
Yeah.
Awareness.
Yeah. You're right.
And wrong here. What do we both need? And what can we both commit to going forward to actually connect again?
Mm. Definitely that awareness. I look at it relating to it in a similar way. It's not about connection so much, but just being okay with silence because I'm one of these busy people that just can't sit still. I have this tendency that if I'm not doing something,
Mm.
I don't know, feel guilty or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I journaled about it actually this week and said, it's okay to be in silence and it's okay not to be doing something. It's okay to stop work and take the
Yeah.
dog for a walk or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's come with a level of awareness around that. And it's the same with connection too. What can I do today to take my phone away so I'm actually just engaging with the persons or the people that I interact with on a deeper level?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's being proactive, isn't it? It's really
Mm.
thinking. I can do this better. The phone needs to go away. I need to allocate this time for this person.
Yeah. Turn off the
Mm.
notifications, the distractions, and
Yeah, exactly. And long ago, I just pretty much most of my day, my phone is off because otherwise it's just constant. Like I've turned all the sounds off my notifications so I don't get the pinging and dinging, but even just the ringing, I'm quite hard to get hold of. But that's why emails are so good because you can choose to go to your email. I can walk to my laptop or I can turn on my phone and I'm choosing. So I'm being proactive with it and
yeah.
it's a ritual, but I'm not reacting
Mm.
because I check my stuff when I want to check myself, not when you're telling me to check myself.
Do you almost feel guilty saying that? Because it's almost like I tell people my phone is on silent constantly.
Yeah.
I only have a few pings that would come up to distract my attention on my phone. Everything's on silent otherwise. And yeah, I have the boundaries. So I choose when I'm going to make calls and when I'm going to look at emails and
Yeah,
all that sort of stuff.
to tell people again, that's been you communicating what you actually need. For me to be good at my job and be 100% attentive to the person that I'm talking with, whether it's someone like yourself or whether
Mm.
it's a client or whether I'm doing a presentation, it does no service to anyone if my phone is ringing and flashing and doing all that because I'm not with that person. So I'm not
Yeah.
going to be good at my job if
Mm.
I'm distracted. So yeah, not prepared to do it. So I
There's a bit of a
learned,
stigma around this, isn't there? Because that's just the way society is. Like it's just this expectation that you got your phone. Well, why aren't you picking up?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Well, we never used to pick up. If I was out of the house and we had the landline, I didn't hear it ring, you wouldn't speak to me. But now there's this expectation that we all should be on
Yeah,
constantly
yeah,
at the click of a finger. I relate it to mail as well. Like you never used to walk up to the letterbox every 5 minutes to check your mail.
yeah,
Yet here we are checking our mail every 5 minutes and getting notifications and reacting to that rather than being proactive. This is the time I'll spend checking my emails and responding because
yeah,
that's when my headset's going to be at its best. And I like the way you put it too, is that when you set those boundaries, you're actually going to be better there for other people at those
yeah.
times you're going to be available.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to be a better friend, aren't you? If you're having a coffee and you're not checking your phone, you're 100% better. You're going to be better at work. You're better on you're, writing something for work. Like
Yeah.
you're just better for everyone. And because you're not multitasking as much, you're less likely to burn yourself out.
Hmm.
Mindful of the activity that you're doing in the moment.
Yeah. I really like this conversation, Marty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Marny Lishman,
Yes,
not
Lishman.
not Lishman.
You don't need the leash. Yeah, Lishman. Just
Lishman.
quick.
What can people how can people reach you? Is it your website?
Yeah,
marnylishman.com.au?
yes, that's me. I'm on the Insta. Yeah, but don't be pinging and ringing me because someone else. No, I will. You can send me a message. I'm on Instagram. Yeah, LinkedIn and Instagram are my
Go
where,
to.
where I am. Yeah, Facebook, all of that. Website, books, all of
Mm.
that. Yeah.
There's lots of places to connect with people these days, and I'm one of those people that go, there's too many apps. I can't deal with every app and
Yeah,
messages that come through. If you really
exactly.
want to contact me, call me
Yeah,
or email me. That's you.
exactly.
Because
Exactly. And you
I might miss it on the other channels.
Exactly, exactly. And of course, my books are all, particularly my last one's all about me being, becoming a grumpy old woman. So you get a little bit insight into my psyche. So walking actually into a bookstore and getting the book is a good thing as well, because then you can read about me being a grumpy old woman.
And you don't seem grumpy to me. Really enjoyed this conversation, Marty. Thank you so much. Any last minute thoughts for the people or anything else?
Oh, no, I'm not prepared for that. I would just say,
No.
yeah, know thyself, isn't it? Really know thyself. I think
Mm,
summarize everything that we've talked about, because that's valuable information is your body and your mind are whispering to you all the time. So slow down and listen to it.
yeah. Really good point. Really good point. Well, thank you so much, guys. Check it out at thehiddenwhy.com. Live more fully, have more meaning, find more joy. Until next time, speak soon.